LeBron Jordan. This single conversation took over the sports world. It led many shows, gave certain analysts their background breaking into mainstream media, took over the sports world. Who was better? We're not here to discuss who was better or who was the GOAT. But in this video, we are here to discuss why this conversation took over all conversation the last few years. So please join me as we discuss when, where, and why who is the GOAT took over the world. To truly have this conversation, we need to go with the biggest factors in the conversation. And that is obviously Michael Jordan and LeBron James. When we have this discussion, we need to understand who are these two phenomenal basketball players? Who are these two human beings? And who are these two celebrities? All of this plays a factor. So let's begin. The heir of Michael Jordan. There is no denying the impact of Michael Jordan is probably bigger and greater than that of any single athlete who has ever lived. It's very rare you get in a field of celebrities, entertainers, athletes, where one clearly shines above the rest. We saw it in music with rest in peace to the great Michael Jackson, a celebrity amongst celebrities, someone who captured the world that anything he did could make the world stop, people stare, wonder, and amaze. If he stayed at a hotel, you could see the streets flooded with people just to see Michael, whether he was performing or not. When it comes to sports, only Michael Jordan has reached that kind of level. And it's due to a multitude of factors. His play on the court, which is bar none the best of his era. The style in which he played. It was not the traditional big man back to the basket, more of an uglier form. He had a pretty game, mid-range jump shots, skilled footwork. He was also a winner. We've all heard the story, and we've all heard the line, 6-0 in NBA Finals. A winner, stylistically, the jump shot, the look, and of course, maybe the biggest reason, the shoe. Basketball shoes were not what they were today when Michael Jordan played. The movie Air, just released in 2023, detailing the experience of Phil Knight finding a young Michael Jordan and taking a brand that was not known for its basketball shoes, and in fact declining in sales and popularity, and aligning all of their hopes with the young basketball player out of North Carolina. If you're around my age, then you grew up knowing Jordan shoes. We've heard the stories that people, what they will do for them, the price, and the impact on fashion and style that they've had. There was not another basketball shoe that is close. Very few conversations prior to this one have been so cut and dry. For the entirety of my life, up until about 24, 25 years old, the greatest basketball player ever, Michael Jordan. It wasn't a conversation. It wasn't a discussion. It was a sentence. It was a statement. It was a fact. And that's been the story of Michael Jordan for the past almost 30 years. When he retired the first time with only 3 NBA championships, they erected a statue and put the greatest ever on the front of it. There's a million things you could say about Michael Jordan, the basketball player. You could list off his accomplishments, his statistics, the heights of which he reached. And that still wouldn't be enough to describe the impact of Michael Jordan. Air Jordan is not just a person, not just a brand, it is a mythology. The Air of Michael Jordan. Then we must move over to the second biggest factor in this debate. LeBron James. We just described Michael as an athlete and as a celebrity and as an entertainer who reached heights of popularity never seen before. If there was anyone who was ever going to touch it or has had touched it, it would be an 18-year-old LeBron James. The chosen one. The king. The best since Michael. All of these things were said as LeBron as a high school prospect. That level of fame at that age was not even reached by Michael himself. The pure ability of LeBron was on notice at 14, 15 years old at St. Vincent Mary High School. ESPN was paying to televise their games from this high school in Ohio that without him, the world may never know. It wasn't a question of when he would go in the NBA draft. It was just a matter of to whom. Because even at 15, 16, you knew that's the first pick in the draft, the first year he's eligible. LeBron was such a standout at such an early age and had unprecedented expectations put on him. Never have we seen a player before or after where the expectation at draft time and even during his time in high school was this should be a top 5 to top 10 all-time player. Not just a good player, not just a great player, not just a franchise player. This should be one of the greatest players of all time. And it should be noted, and it should be applauded, that he not only lived up to these expectations, but has surpassed them. And to do all of that in the public, with what might be even more incredible, is disregard to what he's done on a basketball court. And he has been every bit a model citizen. There is no scandals attached to LeBron James' name. A family man, wonderful kids, married his high school sweetheart. He did it all right. So if you were ever to attack him, unlike other athletes, including Michael himself, you could not attack him personally. It was as clean a resume as we've ever seen off the court. All of this coming from unprecedented fame at the age of 16. The chosen one, LeBron James. Sports media has never been bigger. There are networks dedicated to 24/7 sports television. And with that comes the problem with anything that gets 24/7 dedicated time. Sometimes there's not enough actual stuff going on, and we need to create headlines. Everybody in the media does this. It also depends on who is leading the media charge. You could take a look at hip-hop and say someone like Charlemagne the God, who has rose to this very prominent level in media, and throughout his career has taken several shots at someone like Drake, and has been, while the world has been a huge Drake supporter, elevating him to this #1 artist status, Charlemagne always slowly knocked him off that pedestal, disliking songs, being vocal against him, and that helped raise his own personality. And we're not here to say if that's right or wrong. We're simply stating facts. In sports, very prominent media figure Skip Bayless. A huge, would be an understatement to say a huge Michael Jordan fan. He covered the Bulls, he covered Jordan, and it would not be an understatement to say Skip is a very well-known critic. LeBron was not the first person he was critical of. He's been critical of several athletes. Shaq post the Lakers, a young Allen Iverson, Carmelo Anthony. Been very critical of a lot of guys. But very few have gotten the level of attention and the amount of segments being negative and critical towards as Skip towards LeBron. So much so that as LeBron's play, fame, accolades, and achievements started to rise to the point where you could start having the conversation of, is he in the top 30? Is he in the top 20? Is he in the top 10? Is he in the top 5? Is he the best we've ever seen? Skip being involved in this conversation for so long started to get to twist it, manipulate it, and bend the conversation how he wanted. So much to the point that there are several other media personalities who have come out and gained more fame, gained more acclaim, have become bigger voices in the industry simply due to saying, no, Skip, you're wrong. There is people who entire perspective and their entire personalities for getting into the business is LeBron James is the GOAT, Michael Jordan is the GOAT. You could even make an argument, and I am a huge Shannon Sharpe fan. I'm a Bronco fan, so I have respect for Shannon as a player. I have respect for Shannon as an analyst. Shannon is a TV personality. But a lot of their early conversations, Skip was on the Michael Jordan side of things. Shannon was on the LeBron side of things. Because that's good for television and that's good for media. You could go down the list of names. And there was other big names besides just Skip. Stephen A is a part of this. Jim Rome is a part of this. There are several big name media personalities who got to stick their claim into the LeBron vs Jordan debate, and a lot more younger guys who have come up and newer faces in the media space who they go and pick a side and they get a part of the conversation, and because they're willing to get animated, be expressive, and do whatever it is that they think that they are doing or claim to be doing on television, they get brought back. But it ultimately came to an uproar in 2020. Why did it come to an uproar in 2020? Real simple answer. COVID. COVID put a stop to the world, including sport. There were no more games. There were no more things to discuss in terms of a daily sports conversation. But these huge major companies that invested in 24/7 platforms, FS1, ESPN, they still have to put people out there to talk about something. And what was the most polarizing thing to discuss? We could just talk about LeBron versus Jordan again. Well, has anything changed since the last week that we talked about this? No. But we could bring on new people to talk about it. We could bring on new analysts to discuss it. Because we don't have NBA games. Hell, we didn't know when the NBA was going to come back. ESPN ran Stephen A out there for pretty much every other segment. Felt like he was on TV every chance you went to ESPN, Stephen A was there. And it didn't matter what he was talking about, what they were discussing. FS1, got nothing new to discuss? All right, let's bring back LeBron versus Jordan. They discussed it at an all-time high when we weren't even sure when the next basketball game would be played. We were bored. We had nothing new to discuss. And these major companies and these huge TV personalities took full advantage of it and recycled this same conversation over and over and over again. Is it a real conversation? 1,000%. There is no team sport that definitively has a number one who is so far and away better than everybody else that it's not a discussion. Even in football with Tom Brady, as great as he is, 7 rings, there is still an argument, whether you agree or disagree, with the Lawrence Taylors of the world, the Jerry Rices of the world, the Reggie Whites of the world. There was still a conversation. And that conversation we have been robbed of in basketball. Because the conversation of who was the greatest player ever should not be only LeBron and Michael Jordan, if we are opening the door. As I said earlier in the video, my entire life, up until these last few years, it was Michael, case closed. And we all just kind of went with it. 6 rings, 6 MVPs in the finals. But if we really want to open the door, LeBron has a seat in that room. Michael's obviously got a seat in that room. Kobe Bryant has a seat in that room. Magic Johnson has a seat in that room. Larry Bird has a seat in that room. These are the greatest players we've ever seen. And since you can't truly compare eras, you have to go with how great were they during their era. LeBron has been, bar none, the best player of the 2010s. In my opinion, Kobe Bryant was the best player of the 2000s. All respect to Tim Duncan and Shaquille O'Neal. Michael Jordan was the best player of the 90s. Magic and Bird saved the NBA in the 80s. All these guys have a right to be in that conversation if we truly want to open it. And the unfortunate thing that we've also been robbed of, this conversation is not so white and black. It's not an argument about stats. It shouldn't be an argument just about accolades. It shouldn't be an argument just about achievements. All of these things need to be factored in. Your accomplishments, your achievements, your skill set, what you were able to do while in the league, your dominance, your resume, all of these things need to be incorporated into that conversation. But with that being said, that's not why we made this video. Is we made it to say, why did it take over the world? And these 4 factors: the legacy of Michael Jordan, which is as great as any athlete we've ever seen. The rise of LeBron James as the 16-year-old chosen one. The media and its personalities that drove this conversation. And the madness of COVID-19, where the sports world had stopped and they needed something to talk about on a daily basis. That is why LeBron vs Jordan took over the world.